So what led you to joining Goldbelly, and could you maybe walk us through your experience at Goldbelly?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I joined Goldbelly, we had about a little under 15 people. So Goldbelly was the same batch as mine at YC in 2013. I'd kind of grown up my company the same way Goldbelly had. At the same time, Goldbelly had knew the founders really well. Like we had all been in the trenches together, fundraised together. Um, when when Swapbox got acquired, we'd really gone 0 to 1. I can't say that Swapbox went like 1 to many. And Goldbelly had also gone 0 to 1. So they just figured out product market fit. They're having a lot of trouble scaling. And so one of the realizations that Joe, the CEO of Goldbelly, had was that he needed another CEO in there to run a growth function. And a tip that I will give everyone is have former founders run your growth functions if you do build out those functions, because they are the best at it, bar none. Um, and so that was sort of my mandate coming in. Now the problem was when I joined, there it was hard to start a growth team because there wasn't even really product. The founding team consisted of Joe, who's more like salesy, a designer, and two engineers. So it's it's really hard to build a growth function when you don't have a product function to support it. So step one was let's actually build out a functioning product org and understand how we can experiment just from like the product side of building a marketplace, which is in and of itself leads to a lot of growth. So one of my other tips is before you even spend money on any paid growth, like start with organic and product led growth. It almost always leads to success that you can then amplify with paid growth. But then within Goldbelly, what I eventually built was a growth team that was product led growth, all organic functions. So I'll talk about one of them in a second, but let me give you the overview first. Paid growth functions, which were the traditional or like sort of CMO org type things. And what we did, I think, fairly differently from a lot of teams was growth also led data science and business intelligence. And the reason why that was important is because that kind of tied everything in the product and marketing into one org that was kind of driving and focusing on initially consumer growth, but eventually also merchant growth. Because as you think about it, like there's two sides of the flywheel that need to feed off of one another. And the way we got to escape velocity and scale was actually having both sides feed one another. And so I think one of the things that we did best at Goldbelly and probably to this day, I think one of the uh, most beneficial investments we made was a team that we colloquially inside the company called Make Merchants Marketers. But it started out in a pretty funny way. So essentially, I was coming up with growth ideas with our CEO. We were trying to run through an experiment list, which taking a step back, you should always have like a roadmap of growth experiments that you're trying to tick through and make sure you're prioritizing and attack. But one of them that we realized was that we had a lot of merchants that we thought loved us, but we weren't like taking advantage of them because Goldbelly was a managed marketplace. It's a pretty big investment to be a merchant on the platform. You're really at focus when you're on Goldbelly, and so one of the thoughts was let's run a like old school summer camp style war of three teams trying to take over all of our merchants' footprints online and offline. And that at the time had very little like structure. We were just like, okay, let's break up the company into three teams. Everyone is going to focus on this and try to take advantage of the merchants that we have on the platform. And so what that became is people running around New York, getting in-store contracts with people to put like coupon cards at the register, um, all the way up to one of the teams, my team actually, got a full billboard put above one of our merchants. We designed it and paid for it, but we didn't pay any rent on it. We just had a billboard that said like we ship on Goldbelly. It probably was the equivalent of $100,000 a year that we just got for free by asking. Um, and that I think was a light bulb moment of, okay, our merchants love us. We can actually do something here. So we actually built a team that was traditionally, I think most people think of it as like partner marketing, but we really hypercharged it by going, we're going to take over your social media handles. We're going to take over your website and actually rebuild it so that we can funnel traffic to acquisition for Goldbelly. Uh, and that became like really a hypercharged growth function. It was a small team. It was like 4 people, but I think it delivered probably the highest ROI of any team in the company, and made it so that the sales process also, like once we acquired a merchant, there's just a playbook to activate them. There was a way that we made every single merchant on the company ROI profitable from day one. So that I think was pretty impactful. Um, that led us to a point where we actually got that. I think that plus all the other functions that we built as a team led us to actually hyperscale. Then you layer on COVID, and that just took us to an even higher level because people were at home and we were able to demand capture to a large extent. And then from there, we just had all the wheels spinning, and so we were able to raise our Series C, which I can also get into if that's helpful. But I'll stop there.